I should have made a logo with a white background. Everybody makes mistakes. How do I use this? Hey everybody, I am Benjamin Yee. Just a disclaimer, I am a politician. That's why I have a photo of me in a suit going like this. So I've worked for campaigns, I've worked for presidents and local politicians, I've worked in government doing technology, and I have been in every level of the Young Democrats as a leader, and many other political organizations and campaigns, what have you. Most recently, I just won a primary for myself out in New York. So, yes, somebody whistled, that's exactly right. I'm a millennial and I'm in office. Isn't this incredible? But that's not what I'm here to talk about today. Why am I telling you all this about myself? Why am I spending so much time on this? Because I want you to believe me when I say we can change money in politics right now. And we don't need a constitutional amendment, we don't need a Supreme Court case, and we certainly don't need Congress. I'm not here to talk about working on the margins or inventing some sort of complicated legislation. I'm talking about a paradigm shift in how we approach money in politics. So this is the problem. I worked for that guy doing fundraising, Barack Obama. And in reality, money in politics is really about incentives. Politicians care about electoral outcomes. And when there's electoral outcomes on the line, even the best politician has to say, I can't do anything unless I'm in office. And it really is about the incentive structure. You need money, and therefore you spend the most time trying to communicate with the people who have a lot of it. The rest of us can go to rallies, we can do whatever we have, whatever we want to do, but it's very difficult to actually get the attention of a politician. We had somebody talking earlier about the crush of noise. There's a signal-to-noise ratio when you're in government. What voters want you to do. How is that going to impact your electoral outcome? If I am a donor, or let's just say a lot of people here are in startup land, if I'm a funder, and I say, I will give you $100,000, but all I want you to do is build this one feature, and that feature isn't bad, but it's not exactly what you set out to do when you created your product. Who's going to take the $100,000? Probably a lot of us. I'm not going to ask you to show your hands. You don't have to just demonstrate to me now that you're a shill. But, you know, and every time that number goes up, it gets a little bit harder to ignore. And that's why we have a situation where there was a Princeton study that came out about 2 years ago now that demonstrated that no matter how many people want something to happen, the odds of it passing through Congress is exactly 30%, even if nobody wants it, even if 100% of people want it. But it does matter how much of the economic elite want it to pass. And this is why. And I know this because I've lived it many, many times. So what are we going to do about this? This is what ShiftSpark does. We aggregate small donors to give them a very large voice, just like the major donor that you saw talking on the phone with President Obama. And we do this with three different tools that address the problem of incentives. First, the donations are issue-based. We talk a lot about donations and money in politics. They go to candidates, unless you're a lobbyist and you get the game, and then you're talking about issues, and you donate to any political party or candidate who will come around and vote your way. That's what we need to do. Then you've got crowdfunding. We're going to pool up those donations, and the last but not least, political accountability. So, what is this? My slides got mixed up. Well, that's okay. First, issue-based donations. This is a true paradigm shift. We are now talking about giving money based on issues. Most people talk about giving to candidates. I feel like a lot of people are trying to solve the information problem. How do I find the person who is marginally better on an issue I care about than the next guy? But that's not what we want. Voters know exactly what they want. We shouldn't be trying to figure out who is marginally better that I can vote for. We should be saying, how do I get them to acknowledge that this is what I want my government to do? We pool money around issues. Once you pool the money, it changes the incentive structure. Politicians know where they have to go to get the funding they need to run for office. It means that they can spend more time talking to constituents and less time trying to raise large sums of money from super PACs, regular PACs, or just plain billionaires. And last but not least, my favorite and everybody's favorite, accountability. Once politicians know what you want, it's up to them to get it done. If they don't get it done, people should get their money back. A lot of the reasons I fundraise, I organize, a lot of the reasons people don't want to be involved is because they've been burned. They don't think that politicians listen. But if I come to you and I say, listen, money back guarantee, don't worry about that, let's take a chance, they will do it. They are much more likely to do it. And when people have a horse in the race, as was said a little bit earlier, when they've donated to an issue or a cause, they are 3 to 5 times more likely to vote. So this isn't just solving money in politics, we're talking about solving voter apathy at the same time. And of course, ideally, politicians get the message, they do what you want, and then you can fund their campaigns, and then everybody's happy. So we're making political voice easy. Right now, it's all locked up in this obscure legal structure. There's lobbying, there's super PACs, there's PACs. This isn't any of that. These are direct contributions from individual donors that we pool around issues and use crowdfunding to get the message across to politicians. We track the issues for you, we pool the pledges for you, and we give you control over what happens to your money and who gets it. So, same rules, different world. Now, instead of all of the politicians looking to super PACs and wealthy people for support, they can look to their constituents. They can find the communities that care about the same things they care about and rely on them. Then they can afford the staff, the flyers, the ads, all the things you need to do to run for office. It doesn't come free. It's never going to come free. And so we need to find a better way to fund it. So I've seen a couple of TED Talks. I know I have to leave you with like a somber fact to think about. 1 latte a month, $4. If everybody who voted for Barack Obama in the last presidential election, and I'm not talking about eligible voters, I'm not talking about people who could have voted, people who actually turned out at the polls, if everybody had saved $4 a month, it could have funded every election in the United States put together. That's $6 billion. This isn't even counting all of the elections that people could be saving for and putting aside money for and pledging to in local elections. And that amount, $6 billion, that's roughly what we spend on Halloween. Thank you very much.